Trump press secretary Karoline Leavitt eagerly and abruptly ended her latest disastrous White House press briefing after it became even more unhinged than usual. And I want you to think about that. Not only did she repeatedly lie about Trump's one big beautiful bill, she celebrated the imminent departure of an incumbent Republican senator whose absence might cost Trump the Senate. She indicated that Trump may want to try to deport a naturalized American citizen who also happens to be a Democratic politician. And she celebrated the creation of a high-security prison in Florida that is surrounded by alligators and dangerous wildlife that will eat people. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, even by Karoline Leavitt standards, this shit is unhinged. But I want to skip to the end where, after being challenged about the disaster, the fiscal disaster of Trump's one big beautiful bill, she's like, all right, I'm out. We're done.
Well, can you respond to the CBO estimate that the Senate bill would increase the deficit by nearly $3.3 trillion?
This is one of the most fiscally conservative pieces of legislation that has ever made its way through Capitol Hill. There's $2 trillion in mandatory savings in this bill. And not only that, the projected growth that this bill will bring to our economy. It will be an economic boom. The Council of Economic Advisors has an analysis that shows that the bill will generate $4.1 trillion in economic growth, and it will cut taxes, putting more money back into the American people's pockets. That's why this president wants this bill to pass, and I know he's busy working the phones and doing what he needs to do today to make it happen. So we'll see you all later. Thank you. We'll see you in Florida tomorrow.
Yeah, so eager to not carry that on out. She's like, all right, here you go. Here's the talking points. Sure, these nonpartisan analyses continuously say that this is wildly fiscally irresponsible. But people who really like Donald Trump have scribbled in crayon that this thing is the best thing ever, and you suck for talking about it. Peace out, bye. Pathetic. Pathetic stuff all the way around. That was at the end, so let's wind the clock back and go back to the very beginning. Again, here's Karoline Leavitt celebrating so-called Alligator Alcatraz, which is going to be this high-security prison in the Florida Everglades, surrounded by alligators. There's all sorts of social media posts coming from the Trump government, including the Department of Homeland Security. They love the notion of man-eating alligators surrounding a maximum security prison. I think they're salivating at the notion that those alligators might try to devour somebody.
Tomorrow, President Trump will travel to the great state of Florida to attend the opening of a new illegal alien detention center located at Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport alongside Secretary Kristi Noem, Governor Ron DeSantis, Congressman Byron Donalds, and other state and local leaders. We hope to see many of you there. The facility is in the heart of the Everglades and will be informally known as Alligator Alcatraz. There is only one road leading in, and the only way out is a one-way flight. It is isolated and surrounded by dangerous wildlife and unforgiving terrain. The facility will have up to 5,000 beds to house, process, and deport criminal illegal aliens. This is an efficient and low-cost way to help carry out the largest mass deportation campaign in American history. We are out tomorrow.
So I was trying to find a tweet of mine talking about this because, you know, it occurs to me that I'm like, they're becoming like cartoon levels of villainy. Let me see if I can find it here and show you like the DHS official tweet on this. This is stunning stuff. I mean, let's see. Yeah. All right, here we go. I'm going to drag this over here so you all can see this. This is an official government page, okay? Coming soon, ICE, alligator, 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 alligators with ice hats on it. And I said, serious 90s morning cartoon villain energy coming from the federal government here. At this rate, we're about 6 weeks away from DHS Gov and other government accounts unironically posting shit like this. And I have a gif of Skeletor here, in parentheses, laughs in evil. I mean, again, just like highly dangerous wildlife. And you can just see like the evil mania in her eyes. This shit is so weird. These people can't help themselves. It's full-on Legion of Doom energy. I digress. Here's another clip.
The one problem that remains is high interest rates for the American people. The American people want to borrow money cheaply, and they should be able to do that. But unfortunately, we have interest rates that are still too high. So the president sent this note to the Fed chair today. And if you look at this chart, this is a chart of all of the interest rates of many countries throughout the world. At the top is Switzerland. They're only paying a quarter for interest rates. Cambodia, Japan, Denmark, Thailand, Botswana, Barbados, Taiwan, Bulgaria, Cuba, Sweden, Morocco, Cabo Verde, South Korea, Algeria, Canada, Albania, Libya, Malaysia, China, New Zealand, Trinidad and Tobago, Czechia, Bolivia, Australia, Costa Rica, the Bahamas, Kuwait, Papua New Guinea, Bosnia, United Kingdom, and the UAE are all paying lower interest rates than the United States of America, which has one of the hottest and strongest economies in the world. The president sent this note to the Fed chair. It says, Jerome, you are as usual too late. You have cost the USA a fortune and continue to do so. You should lower the rate by a lot. Hundreds of billions of dollars are being lost, and there is no inflation. And the president is right. There is historically low inflation thanks to his policies, and we will continue to drive down the cost of living.
The rate of inflation was on its way down. There's also data indicating that the rate of inflation is ticking up under Trump. It was on its way down under President Biden. So again, just total lies from the Trump administration. And again, an unhinged screed at the Trump-appointed Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, who made it clear if Trump wants interest rates to be lowered, he's got to get rid of the tariffs, because the tariffs, according to all experts and forecasters, are inflationary, and the Federal Reserve Chair can't in good conscience lower interest rates, when we're anticipating some degree of inflationary consequence of Trump's tariffs. Again, he's creating the circumstances which is forcing Jerome Powell to not cut interest rates. It's absurd. Speaking of Jerome Powell, somebody, I think in the new media seat, I believe this is a conservative new media host, floated the idea of Trump illegally firing Jerome Powell, and Karoline Leavitt seemed to support it.
The president has not been shy about acting on things that he believes in. Why not just fire Jerome Powell and put in somebody that is going to lower rates? Why wait?
Well, it's a good question, and one you can ask the president, because that's a decision for him to make. But you're right to point out the politicization of the Fed, and it's very unfortunate for our country. But Jerome Powell cut rates numerous times ahead of the election when Joe Biden was in this Oval Office, but now he refuses to, and the economy is in a much better place. So there really isn't a good explanation.
The economy is not in a much better place. As a matter of fact, there are economic metrics that are struggling as a consequence of Trump's tariffs. That's the key part. She wants to say, oh, basically everything's the same, except what's not the same is better. So why isn't Jerome Powell cutting interest rates? Well, it's because of the damn tariffs, lady, because of the damn tariffs. Now, here's a particularly unhinged part. Fox News reporter Peter Doocy brings up the idea of denaturalizing and deporting the naturalized American citizen Zohran Mamdani, who just won the Democratic primary to be mayor of New York City. Okay? So again, a Democratic politician who happens to be a naturalized American citizen, and they are casually discussing denaturalizing his citizenship and deporting him, and the basis for it are rap lyrics.
Thank you, Caroline. Does President Trump want Zohran Mamdani deported?
I haven't heard him say that. I haven't heard him call for that. But certainly he does not want this individual to be elected. I was just speaking to him about it and his radical policies that will completely crush New York City, which is obviously a city that the president holds near and dear to his heart.
There's this Congressman Andy Ogles. He wants the Attorney General Bondi to explore denaturalization proceedings because he thinks Mamdani could have misrepresented or concealed material support for terrorism based on rap lyrics he wrote in 2017. Does President Trump think this is a worthwhile use of the Attorney General's time?
Well, I'll let the president speak to that. I have not seen those claims, but surely if they are true, it's something that should be investigated.
Thank you, Carol.
There you have it. Again, just cavalier conversation between a right-wing media figure and the right-wing mouthpiece of the Trump administration and the federal government, just cavalierly talking about denaturalizing and deporting an American citizen because they don't like his politics over rap lyrics. And again, no substantiation of the claims against him whatsoever. This is where we are. Here's another clip.
Caroline, you mentioned the dangerous wildlife at the Alligator Alcatraz. Is that a design feature? Why is the president going with this mega bill in such a precarious position in the Senate? And then also, can you talk about the CBO estimate that it would add about 11 million uninsured?
Well, look, when you have illegal murderers and rapists and heinous criminals in a detention facility surrounded by alligators, yes, I do think that's a deterrent for them to try to escape. We do know that some of these
not exactly like prison escapes are a common occurrence here in the United States, number one. Number two, even if I granted you that murderers and rapists deserve harsher conditions, even if I granted you that, the problem with the Trump administration is they're wildly indiscriminate, and they've made all sorts of allegations about undocumented immigrants and documented immigrants and American citizens and their children over the past 6 months that have been wildly unsubstantiated. They've gotten shit wrong. They've deported people that they were not legally entitled to deport. They have, arrested people and detained people on the most spurious of charges. So even if I granted you the absurd premise just at face value, I don't really trust you guys, nor should anyone else, to determine, actually the people in this Alligator Alcatraz are actual murderers and rapists. But again, this is what I'm talking. It's not about that. It's just the normalization and desensitization regarding cruelty. This is a slippery slope, and they're eager to be on it. Here's another clip.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. What is the White House's response to Senator Tillis's criticism articulated from the Senate floor yesterday, in which he said passing the big, beautiful bill would betray President Trump's promise to protect Medicaid?
Well, he is just wrong. And the president and the vast majority of Republicans who are supportive of this legislation are right. This bill protects Medicaid, as I laid out for you, for those who truly deserve this program, the needy, pregnant women, children, sick Americans who physically cannot work. And what it does is it ensures that able-bodied Americans who can work 20 hours a week are actually doing so, and that will therefore strengthen and protect those benefits for Americans who need it, as well as cutting out the waste, fraud, and abuse, as well as getting 1.4 million illegal aliens off of the program. So all of those measures are actually going to protect it for those who need it. That's the president's position, and that's what this bill does, and that's why Republicans need to vote for it and get it to the president's desk.
That kind of criticism from a Republican senator, is that reason for concern for the passage of this?
No, it's not. We're confident this bill is going to be back at the White House by the 4th of July. Stephen. Thank you.
So all the nonpartisan analyses have consistently shown that this is going to weaken Medicaid and actually increase the number of people uninsured. So she's just lying her ass off per usual and offers no substantiation to the claims. In this particular clip, she launches a wild attack on CNN over a clip she admits she hasn't seen.
I just watched a CNN segment on a new app called Ice Block, and it kind of appeared to be promoting this app where you can tell people where ICE agents are. Given the recent rise...
An app that tells people where ICE agents are?
Yes. And given the rise, I believe, 500% increase in assaults on ICE agents, I wanted to see if you could comment on that and why CNN would be promoting such an app.
Well, it's a very good question. I'll have to go back and watch the clip myself, but surely it sounds like this would be an incitement of further violence against our ICE officers. As you know, as you stated, there's been a 500% increase.
She hasn't seen the clip, but she's accusing CNN of inciting violence against ICE agents. Interesting. And she got that question from a Daily Wire host. The Daily Wire, of course, not particularly known for their veracity, right? Again, she gets another question about Medicaid.
On the reconciliation bill, Senator Tillis from the floor yesterday seemed to suggest President Trump was getting bad counsel on the effects of the bill. Is President Trump aware of the analyses, and there are several of these, that suggest if rural hospitals potentially close, if there are Medicaid patients in the millions that become ineligible for that?
Yes, and that claim is just simply untrue. Rural hospitals comprise 7% of all hospital spending on Medicaid, and that illustrates that they have not benefited from the massive increase of waste, fraud, and abuse under the Biden administration. So this bill strengthens Medicaid. It will protect those benefits that hardworking Americans need, and that's why the president wants this bill to pass. The senator was wrong. The president put out a Truth Social post addressing it, and then the senator announced he's no longer running for office anymore. So I think that case has been closed, and the White House is continuing to focus on getting this legislation.
The loss of Senator Tillis may ultimately cost Republicans control of the Senate. Not guaranteed, but it's very possible. Certainly could cost them control of North Carolina as well and make it easier for Democrats to gain the majority, if not in 2026, and perhaps in 2028. But there you have it. Another particularly unhinged press conference from Karoline Leavitt, Trump's press secretary. There are other clips as well that I could show you where she has no clue what's in this budget reconciliation bill. Apparently, at one point, she was fact-checked by a reporter saying, what about the steep taxes that this legislation will impose on those, seeking clean energy and renewable energy? And she's like, "Oh, you mean the tax credits?" They're like, "No, 10 to 20% new taxes involved." So she doesn't know what's in the damn bill. Pretty embarrassing. No wonder she was eager to end this particular press briefing so abruptly. But there you have it, an unusual level of unhingedness even from this administration, and I expect it's only going to get worse in the aggregate. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.